That's my guess, because you can see here, I think they're going to bring maybe a couple of the Olympics. Apparently, Candace Parker was like, "Oh, if they're on the Olympics team, they weren't there. It means that they're guaranteed to make it." And then I think it's going to be one of those two things, where they're guaranteed to make it or not make it. I think Alyssa Thomas is not going to be on the team. I just have a weird feeling that Alyssa Thomas, it's kind of one. She kind of got her Olympic medal. That's it. I have a feeling that because she'd never made an Olympic team before that. That was her first Olympics. No matter how good she'd been, that was her first Olympics. So I would say that Jewel Lloyd.
During the third day of training camp, the younger roster featuring Paige Buchers, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Sonia Citron, and Angel Reese competed together as a unit. Additional players, including Kiki and Rakia Jackson, joined this group, while Cameron Brink was assigned to the veteran squad. This placement suggests Brink may face challenges securing a roster spot. Predictions indicate that all 5 members of the youth lineup will likely earn positions on the World Cup roster. The speculation extends to several Olympic veterans potentially joining them, though some notable names may not return. Alyssa Thomas, despite earning her Olympic medal, might not continue with the program since that was her inaugural Olympic appearance, regardless of her previous performances.
But she'd been, that was her first Olympics. So I would say that Jewel Lloyd, done. People are like, oh, Brittany Griner's a guaranteed maker. Brittany Griner played 5 minutes a game in the playoffs for her own team. Like, it is straight up a situation where, like, she doesn't play anymore. In 3 years' time, Brittany Griner's obviously not going to be on the Olympic team. That being said, you've now got a situation where.
Similarly, Brittany Griner's minimal playoff minutes, averaging just 5 per game with her club team, raises questions about her future participation, particularly looking 3 years ahead to the next Olympic cycle. Among the young prospects, each player brings distinct strengths to the roster. Citron appears to be the most adaptable plug-and-play option. Buchers stands out as the top wing player. Reese excels as a specialized rebounder. Boston, by a significant margin, could potentially compete for a starting role by Olympic time.
Oh, you've now got a situation where these players are likely to all make it. I think Sonia Citron is the most plug-and-play player here. Paige Becker is the best wing. Angel Reese is the best specialist rebounder. Aaliyah Boston is by 100, might be pushing for a starter spot by come Olympic time. And Caitlin Clark is their best point guard. So I think this is a kind of obvious one. But look, they competed. The fact is that you put all the young players together, and by the looks of things, it was an extremely close game between them and the vets. And it was just Chelsea Gray doing Chelsea Gray things, like we all know.
Clark emerges as the strongest point guard option available. The scrimmage between the youth squad and veterans proved highly competitive. Chelsea Gray's dominant performance ultimately tipped the scales, as her ability to take control of games proved difficult to counter when she found her rhythm. The offensive system showcased various ball handlers bringing the ball up court, with sets frequently running through the post players. Clark connected with Reese early, then came off a flare screen into a handoff with Jackson. Buchers also handled point guard duties, demonstrating the team's flexible approach.
It was just Chelsea Gray doing Chelsea Gray things. Like we all know, if Chelsea Gray just takes over, Chelsea Gray takes over. There's not much you can do. Like if she wants to just go and take over a game, and she's feeling it. Sometimes there's nothing you can really do about it. But yeah, so obviously we got the young crew here, and seeing this team play, you got Stephanie White right there. It is still an interesting one to see it. Like you got Caitlin there taking the ball up, hitting Angel Reese. Caitlin coming on.
With players like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson available, running offensive sets through big players becomes viable, allowing guards to operate more off the ball. The veteran squad displayed considerable wing-oriented play, particularly through Gray's orchestration. Clark also operated as a wing player at times, suggesting less isolation-heavy basketball in the team's system. Running offense through a skilled passing center like Boston potentially reduces the need for traditional point guard play, which could affect starting lineup decisions. This approach might explain why Clark wouldn't necessarily start if the team opts against a true point guard setup. Multiple clips revealed Reese playing with excellent court vision, pushing the tempo and making outlet passes.
You got Caitlin there taking the ball up, hitting Angel Reese. Caitlin coming off a flare. Handoff into Rakia Jackson. They're obviously trying to work their offensive sets. You got Paige there on the wing. Angel doesn't inbound the ball, probably should have, but Paige Becker's taking the ball up. So they're kind of, look, this team is running kind of a the way they're planning on playing, it's a big shot there by Caitlin, that they are, it's one of those like anyone can take the ball up. And we're going to run quite a lot of our sets through.
Both Buchers and Clark operated in hybrid roles, with Buchers particularly showcasing positional flexibility between wing and point guard spots. This versatility proves valuable in the offensive scheme being implemented. From available scrimmage footage, Boston and Citron appeared to generate most of the offensive production. Reese performed adequately, while Buchers and Clark seemed less visible throughout the contest. Defensively, both guards appeared somewhat anonymous, with Buchers specifically targeted while defending Kelsey Plum's downhill attacks. Gray proved challenging to contain regardless of her defensive assignment.
Our sets through bigs almost. Because in fairness, like when you have got Stewie and AJ Wilson, you can run sets through the big, which means players are going to be playing off the ball a little bit more, which is an interesting one. Again, if you look at the Vets team, like you saw a lot of wing play from Chelsea Gray. So, and you're seeing again Caitlin there as a wing player occasionally. Like there's not going to be too much when it comes down to it of the of individual like isolation play, I would say.
While unlikely that all 5 young players will comprise a starting unit, this quintet represents a strong foundational lineup. Notably, Reese and Boston share identical height measurements, creating interesting front-court possibilities. Strategic roster construction suggests bringing at least 4 young players to the final squad. Among guaranteed selections not attending camp are A'ja Wilson, Stewart, and Breanna Stewart, though Stew's inclusion stems from sponsorship considerations rather than purely on-court merit, as Clark demonstrates superior performance in every measurable category. These 3 represent automatic selections.
Do a like isolation play, I would say, looking at the Team USA. And I do think if that's the way you want to play, if you are going to run through a point center, which I don't necessarily think that A'ja Wilson's that. I do think A'ja Wilson does benefit a lot from a point guard, especially a point guard who plays head up. I think Stewie benefits a lot from that as well. But like if you're planning on running through an Aaliyah Boston point center, you don't need a point guard. And I think that's the only logic for not starting.
From camp attendees, Jackie Young, Buchers, Clark, and Boston appear to be locks, bringing the total to 8 of 12 roster spots. The remaining 4 positions require evaluation. Size needs are largely met, shifting focus toward athletic wing players. Citron fits this profile perfectly, as does Reese, whose combination of strength and aggressive playstyle ranks among the league's best. Constructing a roster with such talent makes winning outcomes highly probable.
As the only logic for not starting Caitlin is if you're not running a true point guard, like if you're starting an Aaliyah or an Angel. But I do think we're seeing from a lot of these clips that like Angel Reese is playing with her head up, running the floor, throwing it ahead. Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark playing as these kind of. Paige Beckers has that positional versatility that she can hover between the wing and the point, which is important. And in this type of an offense, you just never know.
The youth movement represents a significant shift for the program. This particular recruiting class served as a catalyst for women's basketball's recent growth, primarily driven by Buchers and Haley Van Lith during their high school years. Brink contributed to this wave as well. While Reese was highly ranked coming from high school, her profile at Maryland didn't match Buchers or Van Lith initially. Van Lith held the biggest name recognition until Clark's breakthrough following Buchers' emergence.
Steph Curry was talking about the great Don Nelson, who's a really great NBA basketball coach, telling Steph Curry he was chewing out the training staff because he caught Steph Curry very early on lifting weights. And Don Nelson was like, nah, don't do that. You'll mess up his three-point shot. All right? I heard that a lot growing up. I did.
Brink's placement with the veteran group likely serves as developmental experience, particularly given her ACL recovery. The uncertainty surrounding post-injury performance creates questions about whether expectations surrounding Brink exceed her current capabilities. Recent footage from Team USA basketball activities has revealed Caitlin Clark speaking enthusiastically about her national team experience and expressing pride in wearing the uniform. The coverage has also sparked observations about noticeable changes in her physical appearance compared to last season. Social media observers have pointed out that Clark's physique appears distinctly different from her previous year's build.
All right. I heard that a lot growing up. I did. Heard it with pitching, is where I had a buddy growing up. He played some low-level professional baseball. His dad never would let him lift weights, funny enough, because he was afraid it would mess up his pitching motion. I kid you not. So let's go with Caitlin Clark making these comments about joining USA Basketball.
When you're at the U16 team, I remember they always talk about the senior national team, and
questions have emerged about whether she deliberately reduced weight training during the offseason. This wouldn't be unprecedented in basketball, as legendary coach Don Nelson famously discouraged Stephen Curry from heavy lifting early in his career, concerned it might negatively impact his shooting stroke. Similar philosophies exist in other sports. Stories circulate about baseball players avoiding weight rooms due to concerns about altering pitching mechanics. One minor league pitcher's father reportedly prohibited weightlifting throughout his son's career, fearing it would disrupt his throwing motion.
I remember they always talk about the senior national team, and obviously that's every young girl's dream when you're on those teams. And they talk a lot about that team, and only like one or two of us was ever probably going to be able to get a call up to be on the team, or let alone be able to get a call up to come and be a part of the camp and be around the tremendous players that they have had on their teams over the course of the many years and the many gold medals that they've won. And so I think for myself, like, that's kind of what you start thinking about, is like how long I've kind of been involved in USA Basketball and the journey that it's been. I've been on teams.
During recent interviews, Clark reflected on her USA Basketball journey. She recalled being part of U16 teams where coaches constantly discussed the senior national squad, describing it as every young athlete's aspiration. She acknowledged the reality that only one or two players from those youth teams would typically advance to receive calls for senior team participation, let alone training camp invitations to train alongside the exceptional talent that has represented the country over numerous years and multiple gold medal victories. Clark traced her lengthy involvement with USA Basketball, describing a journey filled with ups and downs. She has experienced both making rosters and facing cuts, noting these experiences highlight the program's excellence and dominance.
I've been on teams, and then I've had moments where I've been cut and I haven't been on teams, so you experience all of it. And I think that also speaks to how great USA Basketball is and how dominant they are. Like, there's so many amazing players that have been a part of it and have worn the 3 letters across their chest. And, for me, you never take that for granted. So I'm super excited to be back here and kind of kick off this next cycle.
Okay. So she talks about the fact she's actually been cut prior when being around this team, trying to go.
Countless outstanding athletes have competed for the opportunity to wear those 3 letters across their chest. She emphasized never taking that privilege for granted and expressed excitement about beginning this new competitive cycle. Her comments referenced previous instances of being cut from teams during earlier selection processes. The Olympic roster decisions for Team USA drew significant criticism from observers who felt excluding Clark represented a massive oversight and missed opportunity for expanding women's basketball's audience. Observations about Clark's current appearance suggest she may have instructed her training staff to modify her conditioning program.
Here, when being around this team, trying to go for it previously, and we've well chronicled how big of a joke it was on the Olympic squad for Team USA. And, it was such a huge miss for trying to grow women's basketball. So let's start here. Looks like Caitlin Clark told her training staff, quote, "No, thank you. I'm going back to how I was my rookie year when I..."
Comments indicate a return to her rookie year physique when she finished as a top 3 performer without missing any games. Visual comparisons show Clark maintaining thickness in her lower body but displaying considerably less muscle mass in her upper body. Even accounting for differences in muscle flexion during photographs, the reduction appears substantial. The reasoning behind such changes seems logical given her injury-affected previous season. Why risk any potential complications from excessive strength training that might alter shooting mechanics or increase injury vulnerability?
How I was my rookie year when I was a top 3 player as a rookie and didn't miss a game. You look at this, it looks like Caitlin Clark's still pretty thick in her legs, but she looks Somebody pointed out, well, she's not flexing. No, she looks considerably smaller in her upper body, I think. And I understand it. I get it. I understand why she would.
Social media comparisons have drawn parallels between Clark and Michael Jordan, widely considered basketball's greatest player and arguably among the most exceptional athletes across all sports. While debates might include Tom Brady and Muhammad Ali for overall athletic supremacy, Jordan's basketball legacy remains unmatched. References to the original Dream Team evoke memories of unparalleled star power. That roster featured Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and Patrick Ewing, among others. The collection of basketball talent on that squad, including players like Christian Laettner and later versions featuring Shaquille O'Neal, represented something truly extraordinary.
And I understand it. I get it. I understand why she would do that. I really do. Why take any chances? So let's go right here. Somebody pointed this out, and I thought it was pretty cool. Caitlin Clark, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. One could argue, arguably the greatest athlete in the history of sports. Obviously, Tom Brady, Muhammad Ali would have something to say about that, but
additional training footage shows Clark alongside teammate Cameron Brink, displaying crisp passing and court movement. Notably, Clark appears relaxed and genuinely happy during these sessions, smiling and clearly enjoying herself. This contrasts with observations from last season, when she frequently appeared stressed, even during games. The current footage suggests someone who has shed tremendous pressure and burden. Long-range shooting clips demonstrate her continued work on that signature skill, though captured from considerable distance.
Would have something to say about that, but certainly in the game of basketball, he is the greatest of all time. How about this? Yeah, wow. Guys, I remember that original Dream Team. It was, wow, something, the star power. And I remember looking at those basketball cards I had with Larry and Magic and Michael and Chuck and Ewing. I mean, it was unbelievable.
The overall impression from multiple days of released footage paints a picture of an athlete in a much better mental space. Based on everything visible from camp activities, the likelihood of Clark being excluded from USA basketball moving forward seems extremely remote. As the WNBA season approaches, assuming labor negotiations conclude successfully, the timeline becomes noteworthy. The league's start would place the 2028 Olympics just 1 year away, making these training sessions particularly significant for roster considerations and team chemistry development. Clark's return to national team activities represents an important chapter in her career trajectory,